Update on the Crestliner Dane. Been doing a little bit of work since the last time I shot any video, so it's been a little while, but taking off the windshield, taking out the seats, taking out the old lift system. I don't know if I got that in the last video or not, but I did take it out because we're selling it with the motor. I'm going to remove, we had foamed in this tank long ago, that fuel tank. While it was nice having a bow tank in addition to our poly tanks in the rear, that gave us essentially about a 24-gallon capacity for this boat that the old 1250 went through pretty fast. But the issue with this poly tank or the bow tank is it's the old original metal tank, and with the increased alcohols and all the fuels that we just can't ever seem to get away from, that tank was always collecting water, much worse than the polys ever did. So that's going to go, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to look at getting a properly shaped poly tank up front. It will probably be considerably larger if you think about it in terms of the space we have to work with up there if we put a poly tank in it. We had foamed that tank in. We'd actually put a lot of foam underneath these boards back when the last time we dealt with this boat. But I'm gonna remove this tank and we're gonna abandon it. We're gonna put a proper poly up there. I guess it's probably gonna be a 24-gallon or greater tank in and of itself, and that with anything we put in the rear of this boat. We'll have to make a decision about whether it's even worth bothering to put tanks in there, the regular external tanks in the rear. We may just use that for battery space, and depending again on the size of the tank. The only trouble with the tank that I found up in this boat is it does make it rather bow heavy when you're running with the motor. That's kind of the downside from a balance standpoint. This boat seemed to plane much nicer when we had abandoned that tank and not had any weight up there. I do remember what it was like when we had fuel in it, and the boat definitely picked up 2 or 3 miles an hour when that tank was empty and you were running just off the stern. But I think I'd be just as happy to give up 2 or 3 miles an hour to get more space utilization here, get the battery. We'd had it kind of set over there on the side. I was never really happy. We're always tripping over it. I was considering moving the batteries underneath one of the seats and running cables to the back. You lose a little under-seat capacity if you do that. However, again, depending on the capacity of the battery, or capacity of the tank, maybe we'll put the batteries back all the way in the stern. Certainly wouldn't hurt the balance any if we did that. This boat always had a single battery. We may go to dual battery on this when we put the 115 on it, and I think it's always nicer having the dual batteries. But that's where we're at. So next job up, I'm going to dig the foam out, dig this tank out, remove it, and we'll be on to the next. Get all the rest of the fittings off the top of the boat. I'll take the steering wheel off, take the fish finder off, take the shift controls off. We may actually be getting a different shift control. You can see the hole in the dash where the lift was for the old motor. Newer shift controls all have it built into the handle, which would be considerably nicer than having to reach through a steering wheel for it. That was always kind of a pain. So I think we may end up putting a new set of shift controls on it and sort of modernize it a bit, which would make it nice. And then we'll be ready to flip this boat over, and I'll address the dents in the bottom, fill them, fair them, get this boat good and flat again on the bottom, the way it should be. And then we'll talk about what we're going to do for paint. I think we've been looking at some nice Imron or some other aluminum paints. This is if I remember correctly, this is some shade of GM red that I don't remember what it was. It did adhere very well to the aluminum. I mean, this is 35-year-old paint, and other than the clear coat delaminating, it held up well. Where it is off is not because it delaminated from what's underneath. It's strictly from physical scratches and walking on the deck and all the things you do to a boat over all the years. So Time to dress it all back up. Alright, mission accomplished on the tank. It's out. Wasn't too bad. You can see the foam was what was holding it in there from the way we had done that all those years ago. But it is out, and there's 2 or 3 gallons of something. I don't know what's in there. Probably 99% water. I'm going to dump it out. And now we've got a really nice, I think, 12-gallon tank, if I remember right. Might actually be 15. I'm not sure. But it's certainly 12 at a minimum. And I may, depending on what comes out of this tank, if it looks like clean water, tank may be good in there. I can't believe that, but if I dump it out and find that it's, you know, red rusty water, I may just pour 15 the inside of this tank after it's cleaned out, because this project, which has been on hold for the better part of a year and a half, I'm going to get back to it hopefully before too long. I'm at the point where I had to spend money on this and get panels and do some welding. However, I have had the motor running, so I know it's good. This truck currently does not have a fuel tank. The tank that was in it was pretty banged up and crushed, and the fill pipe, which was metal, was completely crushed, and I don't think it was the original tank anyway. And I think I got plenty of room and height back here in the rear to build a holder for a fuel tank, and this may become the fuel tank for this truck. And given that this is not going to be a daily driver truck, and it's just going to be a have fun, parade, run around kind of deal, that's more than enough fuel capacity for anything I'm talking about on that. So that tank may not go to waste.